So it's literally only been 6 weeks since the start of 2025, and the AI world continues to impress this early on. And it's funny that I have to continually say this to people in my comment section who leave these silly comments talking about it's going to take 5 years to get to where we need to be with AI in order for AI filmmaking to be perfect for them, which is why I continue to say and continue to be proven right time and time again, the AI you see today is the worst it will ever be. If you don't like the AI that you see today, just wait a month or two. And lo and behold, really not expecting anyone to unseat Kling after their release of Kling 1.6, Luma Dream Machine comes along with their Ray2 image to video generation model, and they may have just done that with this new release. And now that I have access to this Ray2 image to video generation model, I spent all last night and early this morning putting it through the paces, testing out prompts that already worked at other places like Kling and Minimax, truly getting an idea of how Luma's Ray2 performs against some of the other top video generation models, and identifying the areas where they still need lots of improvement that once they work through those issues, they will likely be leading the pack in this arena. So again, Luma Dream Machine, this sleeping giant, has released this massive new update that looks stunning and is definitely putting Hollywood on notice. And I'm going to show you everything that I've been testing in this video, as well as my own cinematic outputs. Let's get right into it. What's going on, everyone? Paul Adonis Maximus here. Thanks for checking out the AI Filmmaking Advantage, where here we talk about how to make and monetize AI filmmaking. And before we get into today's video, I do want to announce to my students and anyone else who's been considering enrolling that I just recorded this lesson right here that's going to get into talking about how to train your AI. This is going to be very important for making things make sense when you're making your films. We get into talking about why this helps with the suspension of disbelief, because that is very important in narrative filmmaking, as you may know. And you literally don't want to go out and generate a bunch of images and videos without watching this training first. So as of this video, I just recorded it a bit earlier, so I am going to need to take it into post and edit it. It's showing that it's over an hour long here, but I have to take it into recut. Recut is going to cut that down even more dramatically, so it'll probably be around 20 to 30 minutes. But this training is going to allow you to stand above and beyond any of your competition in the AI filmmaking space, because you're going to be approaching AI filmmaking with a completely different set of eyes than you would from an approach to regular filmmaking or regular photography. It's all going to make sense to you once you watch this training. Be on the lookout for that. For anyone who's not enrolled in the training as of right now, you literally have 19 days left as of this video to take advantage of the beta launch that I'm doing, which also comes with early bird pricing, meaning that the pricing that you see on the sales page is going to be the lowest pricing you'll ever see this training, and it's only going to go up from there as I continue to add more content and probably even more bonuses, making the training even more attractive for the value that you're getting. You can only expect that the price is going to go up in relation to that. So make sure that you go ahead and enroll in the AI Cinematographer's Mid-Journey Playbook, because check this out. You've got other creators out there charging more than what I'm charging, and all they give you is a guide and some prompts. The AI Cinematographer's Mid-Journey Playbook was initially meant to only be a guide and prompt as well, but I really enjoy teaching, so I decided to add a lot of video training along with the guide and prompts that you're not actually getting from the creators, again, who are only giving you guides and prompts and charging more than what I'm charging, and don't even give you any video training. So not only are you getting a guide to make your AI films look more cinematic, as well as video training that goes even further in depth, and bonus video training that was not even planned for the training initially, but you also get access to my prompts database that I'm adding to continually. And there are multiple prompts that I've added in here already. I give you the prompt for the image, I tell you where I generated the image at, and I also give you my own notes for the best way to utilize these prompts. So if you think you'd be interested in this training and you want to get in on the beta launch / early bird discount pricing, then go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen or click the link below this video to learn more information about how to get started with this training today. Now, real quickly, if you went over to lumalabs.ai/Ray, you'll see this page that they have here dedicated to Ray2, and they've got some details about it. They've got a lot of videos that they've generated with Ray2, which look absolutely amazing, and they're calling this a new frontier in video generation, and I tend to agree with them for the most part. I mean, as amazing as Kling is, I've not seen any footage this stunning on the market to date, and they talk about some of the things that it does well, like natural motion, instruction following, which I don't see that just yet. That's something that they're really going to need to work on. Physics and simulation, yeah, I mean, it looks good for the most part, but there are some issues with morphing still, but not so much in the hands and faces, which is great. And they talk about photorealism, which I'm going to show you that they now give you the option to do 4K upscales, which is awesome. But even with that, there are some issues that I found with the 4K upscaling, like the images jerking around and basically having to revert back to the original version of the generation. So I'm not going to scroll through the entire page because there's still a lot more that they've got on here. You can check it out for yourself. But basically, I get the feeling that Ray2 is what Sora should have been. You know, I made the joke on my channel about instead of Sora, we got Sorta, because it turns out that we actually got a watered down version than what they had been peddling at these film festivals and things like that. So again, this came out early January, around January 15th. I think that's when I got access to it. And when I got access to it, it was only a text to video option. And because it was only text to video, I really didn't spend any time on it whatsoever. Like, I generated a few things and I don't even remember if they came out great or not. I don't think they did. But if you follow this channel closely, you already know my thoughts on text to video. It may be great for some dope ass B-roll, but outside of that, it's really not useful for narrative filmmakers whatsoever. The way you truly capture the look and cinematic feel that you want to get from your scenes is to generate an image first and then generate a video from that image. That is going to give you the greatest amount of control over your footage. Whereas with text to video, it's literally a dice roll, and if you do end up with something that's nice, you can't replicate it. So at that point, I just said, you know what? I'm just going to wait and see if they come out with an image to video version of this. Until then, I'm just going to go ahead and keep trucking along with Kling. And so now, unlike Google, which still has not rolled out Veo 2 to everyone, and they still, as far as I know, don't have a image to video version unless you use their Imagen 3, it didn't take Luma an entire year to release the image to video version of this, and that is what we're going to be getting to in today's video. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to mention before we get started. Believe it or not, when they initially rolled out the image to video version of Ray2, which was February 10th, they initially had it gated behind the unlimited plan, and if you tried to generate an image to video generation using Ray2, then you were presented with this error message that you see here on the screen. And I'm calling that out because I don't want people to think that I'm crazy. You may have saw me post about this on Twitter. I actually went over to Luma's account and said, hey, what's going on with this? This makes no sense. And I also posted about it in the YouTube community tab for my channel. Now, I've since deleted those posts because apparently they saw the light. They probably received a lot of pushback given that they pretty much moved the cheese on us to where they allowed you at the level that I'm at on my plan, which is the middle tier plan, to use their text to video Ray2 model for the longest whenever it came out in the middle of January. I think it came out around January 15th. But then when they released the model that everyone was waiting for, again, they tried to gate it behind, hey, if you want to use this cool thing that we just released that I know you really want, then you need to upgrade to the unlimited plan. But thankfully, I stay connected on Twitter and someone told me, hey, that's probably been removed. You should check it again now. And sure enough, last night when I ran some generations, that gate had been removed. So kudos to the Luma Dream Machine team for seeing the light on that. So with that said, based on what they're saying here on their select a plan page, it says that all tiers outside of the free tier should have access to Ray2. Now, again, when I got that message, when I tried to generate an image to video once they announced that it was released, this also said Ray2 access, but at the time it was only referring to the text to video feature of Ray2, which I had already had access to. So as you see, I'm here on the plus plan, and theoretically it should also be available on the light plan. I'd be very surprised if it isn't, but I just want to put that out there in case you guys run into any hiccups. The second second thing, initially I was going about testing some of these generations with very new images that I generated in Midjourney, because I was like, this is a new rollout, this is a new thing, let me try some footage that I had not run anywhere else just to see how dope it turns out looking. Well, as we'll get into in this video, one of the things that I ran into very early on is the noticeably lack of prompt adherence from Ray2. It's almost like Sora, where you give it a prompt and it just has a mind of its own, but it's nowhere near as trash as Sora is. It doesn't like just take your footage and turn the person into somebody completely different, or sort of morph it and have it in a completely different scene like Sora does. Ray2 is not doing that. The footage looks absolutely amazing, as I'm going to show you, but it really struggles with prompt adherence, and that's saying it very nicely. So with that said, how I decided to go about this was I needed some grounding, and basically I needed to compare it against prompts that had worked elsewhere. For elsewhere, I'm mostly referring to either Kling or Minimax/Hailuo AI. That means I'm going to be using images that worked elsewhere, and I'm going to pretty much be using the exact same prompts in most situations. I may try something a bit different to see if I get a bit different outcome. But again, the purpose of that is to say, hey, this worked at Kling without any problems. This worked at Minimax without any problems. Let's see how well it fares over here with Ray2. Okay guys, so let's go ahead and step through this. As I mentioned before, what we're going to be doing is comparing what has already worked at a different platform by using the same image and pretty much the same prompt in Ray2 to see how it all turns out. And in case anyone wants to know, as you can see right here, all of these are being generated in 1080p. So it's interesting to see that not only is Luma moving us from 720 generations to 1080p, but as I'm going to show you later, they also give you the option to upscale to 4K. Now with this first generation, I'm going to point out something really quickly. It says, follow the character as he walks through the foggy of a steampunk city slow. Now, I took this exact same prompt from the one we're going to be comparing it to, which is a scene that I used in a previous upload on my channel, and this worked very well. So again, it worked over here. Let's see how well it works with Ray2. And as you can see right here, the prompt says, follow the character as he walks through the foggy, gaslit streets of a steampunk city slow cinematic scene. If we go back to Luma and we click on the ideas section, I'm just going to show you so you guys don't think that I'm crazy. Every one of those generations have the same prompt, and the prompt came out how it was supposed to. It says, follow the character as he walks through the foggy, gaslit streets of a steampunk city slow cinematic scene. For whatever reason, it's not showing that the prompt pulled through on this side, but either way, everything still worked out as I'm going to show you. But it's just something to keep in mind in case you yourself run into something like this on your end. So let's go ahead and take a look at these scenes. So here's the first one, and I thought it turned out really well, but I don't like the way his arms are swinging like that at the beginning of the clip. As you can see, like they both just kind of swing forward, kind of silly looking, and outside of that, it would have been a great clip. Obviously, you could cut around it in post, but I just didn't like the way the hands were swinging forward like that. Just didn't really look natural to me. But I would definitely say this is an excellent clip to use as long as you cut out those first couple of milliseconds at the front. You could absolutely use this scene. In fact, I was going to rank this one as the #1 scene until I saw that little hand swinging going on right there, so I couldn't do that, but it could definitely be a usable scene if you really wanted to use it. The next scene, he's walking, and this was almost a great scene as well, but if you can look right here on his right hand, there's this, I don't know, tassels or whatever, but it doesn't look like it's part of anything. It's like this webbing, and it just looks out of place. I don't know how it got there. I don't think it's in any other scenes. Outside of that, this probably could have been a great scene as well, but again, with that webbing, that tassel, whatever that is going on down by his right hand side, that makes this clip completely unusable. Now, this would have been an excellent scene, but there's one problem. As you can see over here on the left hand side, you're going to see this guy appear, and then he just shrinks and disappears. So there's definitely morphing going on there. Look, he goes and he disappears, and outside of that, this would have been a great scene. You've got the camera following the guy down the street and people crossing in front of the lens like you would absolutely have in a cinematic scene in a movie. And again, if you wanted to, maybe you could cut out the little bit before the guy appears and then disappears, but then most of your scene is already gone at that point. So again, just watch as this guy comes in and then he shrinks shrinks and disappears. That's obviously morphing. Would have been a great scene otherwise. Now, this is the scene that I actually ranked to be the best scene because even though he's walking kind of slow, if you were to cut to his face, like, you know, in front of him with your camera, he could be like just kind of casually observing his surroundings. You know, maybe he's new to town and he's just kind of looking around. Maybe he's looking for someone. He's not really in a hurry. For the most part, aside from this guy here on the left who looks like he's got his hand up his butt, yeah, you obviously can't ignore that. But the movement of the people around the guy is very natural, like this guy coming up here with this two-piece on and everybody just kind of doing their thing in the background of the scene. Now, I'm sure someone will come behind me and probably spot some things that I'm not currently catching right now. Like maybe this looks a little bit weird with the lady in the red dress. She's I don't know what's going on over here where it's kind of like she's tipping over or something. But in terms of the walk and the mood of the scene, how he's just kind of casually strolling, the body movement looks good. This would have been my #1 choice for this scene. Now, this next scene is a scene that I used in a previous video as well, and I generated this scene with Kling, and for the most part, it works. I don't love the way her eyes are moving toward the end of the clip where it kind of looks like she's going cross-eyed, but I pretty much cut that part out of that scene that I used in the previous YouTube upload, and doing that made it usable footage for my intents and purposes. Now, the prompt I used at Kling was pretty long. I was trying something with pretty much a bot that I created that generates prompts for video, and it's got all of this text right here that I'm not going to read through, but the main gist of it is the camera remains static, capturing a young woman standing confidently in a well-lit bathroom as she takes a selfie with her smartphone. In Luma, I took that same prompt and I used their camera direction initially, which is if you come here and you type in camera, it gives you all of these options that you can use with Luma out the box. And if we scroll down far enough, which is the last selection, you can select static. So the prompt, which looks like it carried over the entire prompt as opposed to what we saw with the previous generation, camera static, a young woman standing confidently in a well-lit bathroom as she takes a selfie with her smartphone. Now, as you may have already kind of previewed and saw with some of these generations, they did not turn out well at all. Like, as you can clearly see there, her butt is shrinking. Like, what's up with that? So, not going to spend too much time on that, but I definitely would not use that shot, especially considering that her ass went from lovely to, as Martin would say, Nasatal, which is no ass at all. With the next generation, obviously her body's kind of morphing all weird where she turns around. That look does not look natural at all. That definitely screams AI all day long. And actually, a toilet then appears with toilet paper, and then look over here to the very left of the screen. You'll see a finger in the bottom left-hand corner just appear out of nowhere. So all of that is very weird. That did not work out at all. Let's check out the next one. Now, this shot was somewhat okay, except for the fact that she's tugging on her shirt at the end of that scene. As you can see right there, it's like she's itching and then she kind of just like pulls on her shirt. Outside of that, it would have been an okay shot, I think, because the turn is not too bad. Her body composition kind of remains intact, but that tugging on the shirt, for me, that makes the scene unusable at that point. Now, obviously, could a real human female do that? Be tugging on their shirt as they're recording themselves in the bathroom mirror? Sure. But I think for the most part, it just looks weird. And again, I wouldn't use this shot, but who knows? You might be fine with it. This is another shot where the body composition just doesn't look natural as she turns around. As you can see, it almost looks like it's just kind of warping. And then she looks off to the side, and that again just screams AI right there. And it just like she's looking with this dead look up into the air and tossing her hair behind her. The body composition still looks great, but you know, people would normally not turn like that. And then that dead look off into the distance at the end of the clip, again, it's just not a good generation. And with that, because again, let me just checkpoint and remind you guys what we're doing here. You run the prompt once, it's going to give you 2 videos, and then if you don't like those 2, you want to see more, even if it did work out well and you just want to see what all else you get as an output, you would just click show more and then 2 more would appear there. But what I did was I went back to Kling and I took the prompt from Kling, at least the first part of it, and then I say the camera remains static, capturing a young woman standing confidently in a well-lit bathroom as she takes a selfie with her smartphone. Pretty much every single thing that you see right here from Kling, verbatim. I then tried using that within Luma Dream Machine, and this is what I got. So again, I didn't like this shot. Her body composition just really morphs as she makes that turn right there, and I would also kind of just say she looks a bit different in the face. And then that weird kind of salute that she does right there just didn't turn out to be a good shot. And then with the final shot, again, we've got this weird morphing turning where she's just kind of gliding as she turns, and it just didn't turn out to be a good shot at all. Not too much else to say with that. Now with this next shot, this actually turned out to be more impressive than the shot that I got from Kling. This is the shot that I got from Kling that I also used in a previous YouTube upload, and I liked how it came out cinematically. And this was the prompt right here. The massive spaceship glides slowly through the glowing orange nebula, blah, 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 because I'm going to show you it's the exact same prompt that I took over into Luma Dream Machine. Well, for the most part, I took the first half of that prompt. If we go back here, I took everything up to here. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to use Kling's native camera directions. And if you see right here, the rest of this prompt talks about the camera panning to reveal a vastness of space, blah, blah, blah. For Ray2, I used the camera direction, camera pan right. Again, what you can come down here and do is type in camera. And if you check the options, you've got camera pan right. And then also what you can see is that little animation right there telling you what the camera direction will look like once it generates, at least if it followed the prompt adherence. And this was the first generation. And again, I was very impressed how it came out. To me, it came out even more cinematic than the version that I got from Kling. Now, one of the things that you may or may not be able to notice with the scene is it seems like it's kind of, the light is kind of pulsing around it, like at the top and around it. It seems like there's this pulsing light. It's very faint, but I can see it, and I don't know if you can see it as well, but that's kind of throwing it off for me, whereas you didn't get that at all with Kling. Above the ship up here, there's like this pulsing going on, and it's going to be even more pronounced in the next generation that I'm going to show you. So this is the second one, and as you can see how the screen kind of goes bright, like, do you see that? Pulse, 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 pulse. Like, can you see that happening on your end? And that's kind of not good. So I wouldn't use this shot right here, but the previous shot, you know, that turned out somewhat okay. If you weren't looking hard enough, you probably wouldn't notice it. So I think that could be a usable shot. And again, I like how that camera pan right direction gave me this, because as it's panning to the right, it's like you're getting closer up on the ship itself. And the new thing is, if you like the way the generation turned out, you can actually click into the clip, click upscale, and then you have the option to upscale it to 4K. You would just click create, and then you get an output of a 4K render that looks like this. But one of the things that I am noticing is that there is some choppiness, some jerking going on with these 4K renders. I'm going to pull it up right here, and to me that just looks a little bit more jerky than the images that I just showed you previously. So again, it's a 4K upscale, but it looks pretty choppy, and the original 1080p version of that doesn't look as choppy. Or maybe it's already a bit choppy, and then enhancing it to 4K just kind of makes it more pronounced. What do you guys think? So this is another shot that Kling just nailed it right out the gate. And I'm pulling it up in Kling from this view because I generated this a little bit ago, and I've got so many generations that it just takes a long time to try to scroll to find what I'm looking for. But as you can see, Kling clearly understood the assignment. It says static shot, the mech comes online and stands upright. And as you can see, again, this was generated in Kling 1.6. I'm only showing you generations that I made with Kling in 1.6. The only thing I did different here is that I again used a camera direction that comes native within Luma Dream Machine, but the rest of the prompt is exactly the same. This was the first generation, and again, it looks very cinematic, but what you can tell is that it's not following the prompt whatsoever. The camera is definitely not static, but everything else looks pretty good. Same thing here. I mean, I like this fly-in that the camera is doing, but again, the camera is not static and the mech is not moving. Another thing that you might have missed is is that this guy ends up doing like a freeze right there. His foot like stops before it hits the ground toward the end of the clip. It just freezes midair. So that wouldn't be a usable shot unless you cut that out at the very end. And here was the following shot when I told it to show me more, and obviously that would not be a clip you could use at all. Now this is the shot that I really liked, even though again it's not following the prompt, but I like how the camera is flying in and you're actually seeing a bit more of the undercarriage of the mech itself. But again, as you've noticed, the mech has not come online, nor has the mech stood up. The other thing that's very subtle as well is, as you can see over here, this person starts sliding as the camera gets closer to the mech. Like they're in place and they just start sliding toward the direction of the mech. So it's not a perfect shot, but I do love the cinematography of the shot nonetheless. Now what I did was I went back and just used the original prompt from Kling that says static shot, the mech comes online and stands upright. And initially the camera tried its best to do a static shot, and then it cuts to that right there. And again, that's just a hot mess. That's very specific to something Sora would do, where you would have this shot and then it just cut to some big hallucination of something that was just completely different. And then the final shot in this series, I mean, the mech is coming online, but then it does that little, I don't know, blue beam. I guess it's gonna blow them up, I don't know, but that's not anything that I asked for. Again, that's just more of the AI hallucinating, but I do love the dynamic movement of the mech nonetheless. And then one thing you may have not caught is over here on the right hand side of us, the mech opens his hands and then some guy just magically appears from maybe a portal or something, I don't know. So out of all of those shots, none of them came close to nailing it how Kling did. Now this particular generation was very dynamic and it has potential to be something amazing, but again, we have a lot of issues with prompt adherence and you're gonna see guys shooting at each other. It just was a complete hot mess. But as I'm gonna show you, this has great potential and we're definitely heading in the right direction. Now this particular scene I used in a previous upload from Minimax, and although there's some morphing going on with the scene, I do like the fact how the monster just goes berserk and there's sparks and things flying all over the place. But the one thing that you'll notice is that all of the soldiers are pretty much pointing in the same direction in terms of firing their weapon. And again, you can see what the prompt is right there. I'm not going to read it because it's a very long prompt, but I pretty much took that exact same prompt over to Luma Dream Machine just to see what I would get. So for this first batch of generations, the exact same prompt from Minimax, and this is the first generation of that, and the monster looks much more complete in my opinion. It stands up on two legs even, but the problem is that the soldiers are kind of just like pointing in all the wrong directions. Like this soldier down here on the bottom left is actually firing at another soldier, and none of them seem to be pointing their weapons directly at the monster, and the soldiers don't actually show a lot of movement. With this next generation, we've got another thing that you would find with Sora is how it just kind of cuts to something completely different. I mean, at least it starts off with the monster, but then now you've got the soldiers like firing at vans and stuff. It just completely goes off the rails. But you can clearly see the potential here. Like if we could get this to have better prompt adherence, like I didn't even imagine that scene right there with the vans rolling and trying to get out of there. So there is lots of potential here once they get this correct. And this scene, it just wasn't that good at all. It's like with this soldier here on the left hand side running, I'm like, whose side are you on, dude? Maybe the monster took possession of him. As you can see, his eyes are red there and he's shooting at his other fellow soldiers. The monster's like, you work for me, dude, you're gonna do my bidding. But as we all know, that's just the AI hallucinating, and again, they're firing in every direction but at the monster himself. And then hopefully we can get the AI good enough to at some point the monster will just get that close as he does right here and then gobble one of those jokers up. And again, with this scene, we have the AI hallucinating to where it just cuts to a completely different scene, and then the guy is even shooting at the truck right there. The guy's like, hey, what the hell are you doing, dude? I'm not, you're pointing in the wrong direction. Why are you shooting at me? So again, lots of problems here with prompt adherence, but that would be a great shot if that's what I called for. And so the only difference that I did with the prompt here is that I used one of Luma Dream Machine's out of the box camera directions, and that was literally the only change to the prompt. And with this scene, I like the fact that the soldiers are running toward the monster. They've got their weapons trained in somewhat of the right direction, but it just doesn't make sense. The monster's kind of floating backwards. As you can see, he doesn't have any feet anymore. He's just kind of hovering in the air. And then his claws turn like pink and yellow, so that looks a bit cartoonish. And then finally, again, another unusable scene. There's a lot of friendly fire going on there, and you know, the monster's just being menacing in the background, and the soldiers are doing everything but looking at the monster. So they're more concerned about shooting at each other than the damn monster. Okay, just a couple more to go. So this scene worked out very well in Kling. As you can see right here, this is literally all the scene was supposed to do. If the shot was longer, then the camera would have passed in front of the barrel of the gun. And the prompt even says camera slowly rotates slowly around the futuristic blaster, and that the rotation begins at the rear of the weapon and passes in front of the barrel. Again, if this was a 10-second generation, it probably would have did all of that. For the first generation of this, I decided to use another Luma Dream Machine camera direction, which was camera orbit left. For this generation, it starts off okay initially, but then as you can see, it morphs and we lose the back portion of the blaster on the turn. It's also turning way faster than I would have wanted it to, but again, I didn't say slowly in the prompt and it probably would have ignored it anyway. And then this shot right here doesn't make sense at all. It morphs and then it does something where it like retracts. I don't know, but I wouldn't use this shot. So then I took the same prompt from Kling and tried to see what it would do based on that. And instead of going in the direction that the prompt said it should, it goes in the opposite direction. And then as you can see, it comes to a stop. The next generation of this, like, forget about it. It didn't follow the prompt at all. And the blaster itself comes to life and looks like something you would see out of Toy Story, where the actual toys come to life and they're moving around and bending and stuff. And then as you can see on the white surface, you've got this weird artifact that just appears out of nowhere, and it's like floating around on the white surface, as you can see at the bottom there. Again, Kling 1.6 for the win versus Ray2 with this particular generation. And then finally, here's the last shot that I actually took from Hailuo, and this shot also made it in a previous upload on the channel. It has the camera slowly zooming as a futuristic robot walks through the hallway. You can see the prompt right there. It's very long, but Minimax clearly understood the assignment. I then took that same prompt over into Luma Dream Machine, and this was the first pass that I was going to run. So let's look at that. Obviously, that's completely unusable. The robot's doing the moonwalk, and the people back here just look crazy. They look like rubber bands, just kind of like they're also getting into it. Like, you know, they're doing the Michael Jackson moves, how he jerks to the left and jerks to the right. And that's because they see the robot moonwalking. So maybe the song Beat It is playing in the lobby there. Now, this generation could particularly work if like the scene was long enough and it revealed that the robot was actually on wheels. But again, the prompt says that the robot is walking, so that wouldn't work because I didn't ask it to generate a robot rolling around on wheels. Now, I was going to play with the prompt and then use one of Luma Dream Machine's native camera directions on the next one, but then boom, as you can see there, I ran out of credits, and that was the end of all of my testing. And if we come over here, we can see that I've currently only got 280 credits, and that doesn't allow you to do pretty much anything. If I click the view usage, it says with your remaining 280 credits, you can generate around 70 images or one video, but that's probably a text to image video. That's probably 720 because again, once they alert you that you've run out of credits for what you're doing, they mean that shit. And just to review, again, I'm currently on the plus plan. It gives you 10,000 credits. If you take the unlimited plan, which I'm probably going to do because I want to play with Ray2 a lot more, it then gives you unlimited use in relaxed mode. So I'm already out of my 10,000 monthly credits, which is what they give you. I don't think that if I upgrade, they're going to give me 10,000 more credits. I'll let you know if that happens because I honestly am planning to go ahead and upgrade to the unlimited plan just to get some more use out of this. But what would probably likely happen is that I'd still be out of credits and I'd just be able to use it in the relaxed mode, and it's probably going to be much slower than the speed that I'm used to generating with under the regular plan. So we'll have to see. They do give you the option to buy more credits, and as you can see right here, if you drag the slider, it tells you what you get for what. So if you wanted 10,000 more credits, you can get that for 36 bucks. But I'm telling you that when you're in that store storyboard mode and you're just generating and you're pretty much just letting the ideas flow, those credits run up very quickly. Because again, I didn't start out with testing out Ray at 10,000 credits. I probably was at about 8,000 or 7.5 because I had been doing stuff with Luma prior to the image to video version of Ray2 coming out. But I am confident that you could blow through 10,000 credits in a day just using that storyboard mode. And again, here they give you some estimates, like you can make 2,700 images or 67 videos, and it takes it all the way to the max at $80, which will give you 24,000 credits, which would allow you to generate 6,000 images or 150 videos. So we'll see. I'm going to test it out in the relaxed mode, but if that's too slow for my liking, then I might jump back down to the plus plan and then just buy credits as needed. But the other thing you have to keep in mind, which is probably why the unlimited plan would be more attractive, is that because they don't have great prompt adherence, you end up generating more videos, and you'd probably generate 150 videos within a couple of days if you're just going at it. But again, my plans is to go ahead and sign up for the unlimited plan, see how it works out in relaxed mode, and I'll let you know how that all works out after that. So guys, my conclusion is that if Luma can work out their prompt adherence issues with Ray2, this now becomes a serious competitor to Kling AI, if not surpassing Kling AI. I mean, you're definitely not getting these type of visuals from Minimax, and as far as Runway, forget about it. Those guys are still stuck at Gen 3 Turbo after all of this time when everyone else is coming out with bigger and better features and enhancements. Runway isn't even in the race at this point. And again, if I'm being completely honest, these visuals surpass what Kling has got going on, especially now that you have a way to upscale your creations without having to buy something like Topaz Labs. So what do you guys think? Are you back to being Team Luma? Is this something that you're going to pick up and add to your arsenal? Or are you going to go ahead and just stick with Kling, because not only are the visuals with Kling stunning, but you also get prompt adherence that is currently the best on the market with Kling 1.6? Or is there room for both of these tools in your arsenal? Let me know in the comments below this video. And as always, if you enjoy these type of reviews on new AI and tech as they roll out, be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any new videos like this. And if you appreciate the review and commentary, be sure to hit that like button. So once again, my name is Paul Adonis Maximus. Thanks for checking out this video. Please join me in the next one.